Larry Ellison, one of the richest men in the world, bought one of Hawaii's 8 main islands back in 2012 for $300 million, and let's just say some of the locals are not all that happy about it. If you've been following the story, you know we're talking about the island of Lanai, which consists of about 90,000 acres worth of land and has a population of around 3,100 people. This is a pretty unusual purchase for just a regular guy to pick up, but when you're somebody like Larry Ellison, I guess just about anything is possible. When Larry first bought this island, his original intentions with it weren't completely clear, but he did start spending more time there right away, and by 2020, he moved onto Lanai full-time. The biggest concern of the locals around Hawaii with this purchase is that this beautiful island, which was home to thousands of residents and hundreds of jobs, would eventually just become a playground for the rich. Well, fast forward to today, and Larry is definitely doing a ton of development out there and spending a ton of money. Let's dive into the story together and talk about where he's at now. So I said that owning one of Hawaii's main islands for a single person is a little bit strange, but the island of Lanai has actually been in private hands since the 19th century. The ownership chain in the 1800s is a little bit choppy, but in 1922, James Dole bought the island. At the time, he was president of the Hawaiian Pineapple Company, and he developed part of Lanai into the world's largest pineapple plantation. James Dole owned the island up until 1985 when he sold it to David Murdoch, who was another very successful businessman. Murdoch took over the island when he took over James's pineapple business, the Dole Food Company. Fast forward to 2012, after marketing the island of Lanai for a while, David Murdoch sold the land to Larry Ellison, who's the subject of today's video. When Larry strolled along and paid $300 million for the island of Lanai, that also included many of the structures that were scattered about the island and the 2 Four Seasons hotels that were already located there as well. Plus, there were some other random things that were included, like a couple of golf courses and an animal rescue. At the time, Larry Ellison was the 11th richest person in the world, and he's actually the 8th richest person in the world still to this day, with a net worth of around $100 billion. Ellison made his fortune primarily through him being the co-founder of the Oracle Corporation, which is a supplier of database software and business applications. And let's just put it this way, buying a private island wasn't all that crazy for somebody like Larry Ellison. He always has been known to be a big spender on things like cars, jets, and real estate. The controversy surrounding Larry Ellison buying Lanai started not long after he first bought it, because even though the island has always remained publicly accessible, like I said at the start of the video, the locals were kind of worried that he would turn it into a playground for the rich. One early indicator of this transition actually happening on the island is when Ellison got to work on building a Nobu restaurant out there. I guess he said the food on the island was inedible, so he needed to build a 5-star restaurant. They have a Nobu not really far from where I live, and if you guys have never been there before or you don't know much about Nobu, that's the kind of place that you go to with a date and you don't leave without spending at least $300 or $400. Building a restaurant like Nobu was a bad sign for the locals, considering the median household income in Lanai is around $55,000 a year, so clearly he wasn't building this restaurant to cater to the locals. It didn't take long before people who previously lived on Lanai were forced out of their jobs and forced out of their homes just because Ellison had a different vision for the future of the island. He bought a budget airline in 2014 called Island Air, which was supposed to be an airline to get people from Oahu and Maui over to Lanai. That venture ended up failing, but it's since been replaced with another company called Lanai Air. Ellison also built a wellness center called Sensei, where you can spend $3,000 per night at this retreat to work on your physical and mental health. Probably awesome, but also crazy expensive. So with moves like that, it was starting to become obvious that the focus of the future of Lanai was not so much on the locals, it was going to be more on the visitors and the tourists. With that being said though, Ellison is currently building a 150 unit condo community, which is nice. They won't be for sale, but they will be made available for rent, and half the units are actually going to be designated as affordable housing forever. So that's definitely a win for people who lived in Lanai and want to stay. Nowadays, the island of Lanai is continuing to evolve in the direction that it has been since Larry Ellison bought it. It's becoming more and more of a hotspot for the super rich. There are plenty of reports out there now of people traveling to the island via yachts and private jets. Elon Musk is known to visit often because him and Larry Ellison Ellison are pretty well documented friends, with Ellison being a Tesla board member since 2018. Tom Cruise has been known to visit as well. He is also a friend of Ellison's due to Larry Ellison's son, David Ellison, is the producer behind the new Top Gun movie. And total random side note on the Tom Cruise factor, just a few days before I was filming this video, Tom Cruise was reported to have flipped and totaled one of Larry Ellison's Land Cruisers on the island. Although with nobody hurt and this being a private island, there's no police reports of the incident. Anyways, other celebrities like Jessica Alba, Will Smith, and Cindy Crawford have all reportedly also been recent visitors of Lanai due to it being super private and not having all of the paparazzis. The point here is that Lanai is migrating more towards a place for the rich and the celebrities and less of a place for the locals to live and cherish, but that doesn't come as a huge surprise. On the hotel front, if any of you guys out there want to go check out Lanai for yourself, the Four Seasons out there was completely remodeled. Ellison spent $75 million on that renovation, and now you can book a room there ranging anywhere from $2,000 per night all the way up to $10,000 per night. On the housing front, on the other hand, that's probably the saddest part for locals because buying a house out there anymore is basically impossible. There's currently only one home for sale on the entire island. It's been up for a couple of months. It's a 4-bedroom, 5-bathroom house with about 5,000 square feet, and this place has insane views and privacy. But nothing else on the island is available for sale other than that super expensive house. And remember, like we talked about earlier, those condos that Ellison is building are going to be for rent, not for sale. After Ellison bought Lanai, he continued buying businesses that weren't originally included in the sale of the island, including the grocery store and the island's only gas station. Plus, he's actually trying to buy the power plant and electric grid from the Hawaiian Electric Company. This might sound like he's trying to be a control freak or create a monopoly or something like that, but Ellison is actually trying to transition the island to 100% renewable energy and just make it much more safe and sustainable for anybody who lives or visits there. Larry has spent around $500 million on Lanai, and that is on top of the $300 million that he originally paid for the island. And hey, not all the locals are mad at him. In fact, many locals support Ellison, saying that he's doing a lot more for the island of Lanai than David Murdoch, who owned the island prior. I don't want to interject too much of my personal opinion here because I have no idea what it feels like to be one of those locals who has lived on the island for years or generations leading up to Ellison buying it. But it's kind of hard not for me to think that it is his money. He bought the island, and so technically he can do whatever he wants with it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below as to whether or not you think that it's fair game for Ellison to be investing hundreds of millions of dollars into this island with so much history, or if you don't agree with it. And whether you agree with Ellison or not, if you liked the video today, hit that like button down below before you go. That really helps the channel out a lot. That's all I've got for you guys this time though. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see ya.